Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Adam Bunker, and I have the honor of being the president of the board for the Wyoming Food Coalition. Our coalition, if you're not familiar with us, is a statewide nonprofit working together to strengthen local food systems by connecting stakeholders and amplifying their voices so that Wyoming producers, eaters, and environments thrive. So what does that really mean? Well, it means that we're addressing challenges in the food system on everything from how to help producers grow more food, all the way to ensuring that every person in Wyoming has access to healthy, nutritious food, and everything in between, including a working group specifically focused on strong Native communities. Now, tonight, we're here to discuss access to good food for all. This is a critical topic for our communities, as food security is fundamentally linked to both economic stability and got something caught in my throat. Food security is fundamentally linked to both economic stability and long-term public health. If tonight's session sparks your interest, I would encourage you to visit our website at wyfoodcoalition.org. You can learn more about our work, and we'd love to have you get involved by clicking the Join Us link. Now, please note, we will be recording this session, so if you do not want your picture available on the recording, just feel free to turn off your video. Before I hand things over, I would like to take a moment to just thank you all for your time tonight. We know that evenings are an important time for folks, and we appreciate you sharing it with us. So please make yourselves comfortable, grab some food, get a beverage, bring in your pets or little ones. Even if they're crying, you can mute your side of the microphone and enjoy the session. Tonight's program is hosted by the Fairness and Justice Working Group. It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Christine Porter, the Working Group Chair and a person of immense passion on this topic. Christine, all yours.
Thanks so much, Adam, and I repeat that thanks for everyone who's showing up tonight. So I'm going to introduce our speakers in turn. I'm going to also do my own little spiel at the end to try to wrap things up to go into discussion and solving the world's problems to make sure that everyone has access to good food in Wyoming. So first up is Ashley Tout. She's the Nutrition Program Manager. She's a National School Lunch Consultant at the Wyoming Department of Education. And she's been working with Tamara Jackson and many others to make sure our kids had at least breakfast and lunch, even through the pandemic when schools were closed. So over to you, Ashley. I don't know if you, maybe you can stop sharing the screen. Emily, even though I didn't, Ashley, you can share your screen if you want to.
Hey, Christina, I just want to make sure you're ready for me to present now. Okay,
ready.
Okay, perfect.
Ready. Thank you.
All right, so I just wanted to start out by thanking you all for the opportunity to share a little bit about how school nutrition programs contribute to providing access to quality meals. I'm so honored to be a part of ensuring Wyoming kids are well fed. Like Christine said, my name is Ashley Tout, and I work at the Wyoming Department of Education as the National School Lunch Program Consultant. I work with school districts and residential childcare facilities, ensuring that children across the state of Wyoming have access to nutritious meals. So the goal of the National School Lunch Program is to provide nutritionally balanced, low cost, or free meals to children on school days. And meals must meet specific nutritional guidelines that were created in relation to the dietary guidelines for Americans. So in a typical school year, families are asked to qualify for free or reduced meals based on income or proof of receiving government benefits such as SNAP or TANF. And students can also qualify for free meals based on their status as foster, homeless, migrant, or runaway. School nutrition programs work closely with the Department of Family Services to automatically qualify as many students as possible for free or reduced meals based on a process called direct certification. And so under direct certification, families are not required to take any additional action, and they will receive a letter upon qualification for meal benefits. Preventing over-identification is a major focus of these programs. So over-identification is any action that may result in a child being recognized as potentially eligible to receive or certified for free or reduced price school meals. So schools develop policies surrounding collection of payments, collecting income apps, and serving meals that prevent students from being identified. Direct Cert is one of those many policies and many programs that help prevent these students from potentially having any backlash for qualifying for these programs. And this is actually such a cool time to be involved in school nutrition programs because we get to witness firsthand the power the program has in helping families during emergencies. As many of you are familiar with, in March of last year, a public health emergency was declared and schools everywhere shut down indefinitely. Many students rely on school meals for a minimum of 2/3 of their meals Monday through Friday. So like Christine said, at minimum breakfast and lunch 5 days a week. So it's not uncommon to hear of students who eat on Friday afternoon and don't have access to quality meals again until Monday morning. So there was naturally a lot of concern when schools shut down because we knew that many families would struggle with feeding their children. The majority of schools in the US shut down entirely and were not able to offer meals for several weeks. Wyoming stepped up to the plate and there was no question as to if food service operations would continue. Within a day, they switched gears and continued to offer meals to students via curbside pickup. And in fact, actually, this is really cool. Wyoming was the only state in which every district enrolled in the National School Lunch Program continued to serve meals through closures. So operations were adapted to feed individual community needs. And so this is something that Wyoming alone can say. So very, very cool. From March 16th to 2020 to December 31st, 2020, 4.5 million breakfasts were served, 7 million lunches were served, and 127,000 snacks were served to Wyoming children. While serving during the public health emergency under the Emergency Response Program, Wyoming went from 99 sites to 312 sites, basically overnight. So we were able to reach a lot more kiddos. And although meal service looks a little bit different, meals are reaching more students than ever. In a time of uncertainty and economic loss, schools have provided free meals to anyone 18 and under. And schools have been used as community food hubs from March 2021 to the present day. And although we're still uncertain of what the future will look like, the USDA recently released guidance that will continue to allow for all students to eat for free in school year 21-22. So that's huge in providing access to families everywhere. And I wanted to take a little bit of time to read you guys a few notes from parents that were shared with me from a few districts across Wyoming. So the first note says, "Thank you isn't enough for all the hard work and time that you have put into providing lunches for our kids the last several months. It's been something my kids get excited about and look forward to every week. As a mom, it was one less thing I had to worry about during these uncertain times. Thank you, thank you. Your efforts have not gone unnoticed." And then the second note says, "Thank you for providing these meals for my kiddos. I didn't realize how stressful it would be to have all 4 of my kids repeatedly saying that they were hungry and asking what was for lunch. You guys have provided an excitement for breakfast and lunch. Thank you for all of your hard work and for allowing the community to all come with their kids. What an amazing thing to do when the world is going through this right now. Thank you and love, a super grateful mom." So that's pretty much all I have to say, but I just wanted to thank you guys for taking the time to learn more about school nutrition programs and how they really can impact communities during times of crisis. And even in typical times, a lot of families rely on these programs.
Thank you so much, Ashley, for telling us about the work, also for doing the work. Tripling the number of sites so quickly is phenomenal by itself. And as the First Lady's Health at No Hunger Wyoming Hunger Initiative, one of her goals is breakfast after the bell, but also for all children. And it's exciting that USDA is going to let us essentially pilot lunch and breakfast for all.
Yes, we're very excited.
That's a big deal. So thank you. We'll do questions and discussion at the end, just to make sure that all of our presenters get to talk. But that was a statewide and to some extent a national perspective, right? Because it's a national program, and Wyoming made the most out of the exceptions and exemptions to make sure our state got breakfast and lunch at least. Next up at a more micro, but equally important level is Megan Taylor of the Edible Prairie Project. She's also a Fairness and Justice working group member in the Wyoming Food Coalition, and she also brings a lot of market management experience. But Megan, take it away.
Hi, thanks so much, Christine. And thanks everybody for joining tonight. And I do have a PowerPoint, so I'm gonna see if I can get this to work. Okay, that way you can look at pictures instead of me, which is better. So I'm Megan, I'm with the Edible Prairie Project. We are a 501c3 based in Gillette, Wyoming, and our mission is to get local food into the hands of families that need it most in order to build a more fair, resilient, and sustainable community food system. I really appreciated Ashley's presentation, and just as an aside, we operate out of our local Boys and Girls Club, and we saw the impacts of school closures this summer through them. And which was great was Boys and Girls Club was able to partner with the school district to get those meals into the club. And then we were able to piggyback on top of that effort and do weekend meals for all of their families to get them through to the weekend. And we did make sure that we included fresh fruit and produce in all of those weekend food bags, local if at all possible. So that's one of the programs that we operate, but the one I'm going to focus on tonight is our Veggie Basket program. And what's really unique about our Veggie Basket program is we are nonprofit on both sides of the equation in terms of who we purchase produce from. So on this slide, you'll see all of our farmers and ranchers that we work with, and we purchase produce from military veteran, women, new and beginning, and what the USDA defines as socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers in our county, within a 100-mile radius of Gillette is where we try to stick with. And we make sure that they are paid a fair price for that produce. And then we're also nonprofit in terms of who we sell baskets to. So this is just some pictures of us setting up baskets, but we have a free basket program for local SNAP and WIC families. So that is our local families that qualify for federal nutrition assistance. This year, we're adding a middle tier that's a discounted basket for our families that no longer qualify for SNAP or WIC, but do not meet the self-sufficiency standard as defined by the Wyoming's Women Foundation. We use their statistics because I think they're a bit more realistic for what it actually takes to have, you know, a really well-lived, high-quality life. So we do try to accommodate all income needs. And then our third tier is available to anybody in our community. It's just the retail cost of our basket with a little bit of a donation built in to help support the program. The next slide, this is just kind of a sampling of what our baskets look like each week. We do design them to feed a family of 4. We have 3 different seasons: a spring season, which runs for 4 weeks, a summer season, which runs for 10 weeks, and a fall season, which is our storage basket, and our families get 75 to 100 pounds of produce. And we were really curious when we started this, like, I mean, does our program have a difference? Like, is it even doing anything? So we partnered with Christine Porter at University of Wyoming and the Equality State Research Network to do a community-based participatory research project. We asked our families before they got a basket about their household food security, their household fruit and vegetable consumption. And then at the end of each season, we went back and we asked the same questions. And we did find that both household food security and fruit and vegetable consumption increased, which is amazing. And we are very fortunate to be able to do this project again this summer. So we will have 2 years of data, which will be great. And a lot of like just anecdotal stories from our families about how they love the produce, they love the recipes that we include, and they like our kitchen utensils, which we also give out just to help our families process that raw produce, because it can be very intimidating when you get a whole cabbage and you're just like, what am I supposed to do with this? So we provide tips on how to store, prep, cook with, and handle all of that produce. So Christine kind of asked us to think really briefly about some of our inspirations. So one program that we really like, that we would like to replicate in Gillette, is Kids Home for Dinner by Feeding Laramie Valley. They do free homemade weekend to-go meals that use local produce, real ingredients. I would love for our summer weekend meals for kids program to morph into what Feeding Laramie Valley is doing. Farm Beginnings by the Land Stewardship Project is an amazing program. They actually use farmers in that area to train new and beginning farmers. So you're being taught by someone who's really lived it. And we would love to see something like that happen in Northeast Wyoming. That's kind of where Edible Prairie Project wants to move in terms of that farmer rancher training. And then incubator farms. So this is our big goal right here, is EPP would eventually love to open our own incubator farm so new and beginning farmers could have land with us before they actually go out on their own and make that huge investment. And then kind of where we see ourselves and hopefully the state kind of going from here is statewide place-based farm training. So farm training programs all across the state of Wyoming, but based in your locality. So you learn the area, you learn your soil, you learn what grows well. Land access, this is a huge issue for farmers and ranchers in our area, especially if you're trying to get in and you're not inheriting land. And as a nonprofit trying to purchase farmland, like we are running into the same barriers. Local food purchasing policy, love to see this at the city, county, and state levels just to support our local food. And then community-based food growing and distribution models, just really taking it back to our community and how do we provide nutritious, healthy local food to members of our community by growing it in our community. So that's kind of my really 30,000 foot presentation. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Megan, again, for the work you do and for telling us about it. Yeah, we saw a huge pre-post difference in food security and fruit and vegetable consumption from last season. I'm excited to double our numbers and have food insecurity and double people's chance to eat great local food that you guys grow. Next up, we have Kelly Pingree. She's the Wind River Food Sovereignty Co-Director in Wind River Reservation. She's a chef, which I have great pleasure in telling you she's a great chef. I know personally. She's been working also for the Food Bank of Wyoming, which just changed its name to be a culturally, on their culturally responsive food initiative. She's a Fairness and Justice and Strong Native Communities Wyoming Food Coalition member. And she also has experience as a sensible nutrition educator previously and more, but I'm gonna stop there and hand it over to you, Kelly.
Thank you, Christine. Let's see, let me share my screen here. Let's see, files.
Zoom is definitely the land of being muted and trying to figure out how to share your screen, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how I do that.
If you push it, there should be a green button at the bottom that says share screen.
Yeah.
And then you have to choose which of the screens that you have open you want to share.
I don't see my PowerPoint.
Do you have it open on your desktop?
Hang on a minute. Can you guys see that?
No, but have you hit the share screen button?
Oh.
And then choose this. If you just saw your PowerPoint, then choose your PowerPoint.
Did you see that yet? No?
Now, sometimes it takes a second, but when you hit the share screen button in Zoom, does it bring up your window choices?
Yeah, it does, but I don't see anything here that
that you want to share.
Let me see.
You could also, real quick, I should have asked you to email it to me before. If you email it to me, but then just start talking and then I can pull it up.
Okay.
If you don't figure out how to.
Okay, let me, maybe you could go on to the next one and then
that's a good idea. And why don't you email it to me and I'll pull it up for you.
Okay.
When it's you. Okay, let's switch.
Oh, Christine, I think you're muted.
Oh my God. So good idea to switch order. Did you hear me say that I'm not a flexible thinker? And I did not think of that by myself. Also did not unmute. So next up, Mary Ellen from Slow Food and the Tetons. She's Communications and Outreach Manager, and I'm really excited to hear about all the programs you run. And somehow you could probably have a whole hour for that, but please go ahead.
Thanks, Christine. I think 5 minutes is about all myself and all of you can probably handle at this point in the day, in the year. Let me get my screen going. Okay, can everyone see that? Sweet. This is just our homepage. I just like, I think Ashley may have said, or maybe Megan, it's better if you look at pictures than me. So there they are. I am with Slow Food and the Tetons out of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And we do a lot of things like Christine said, but we're really excited to be getting more involved and more aware, more educated, and more a part of food access initiatives in our community and across the state and the nation. It's really impossible to do our jobs, and really impossible to do our jobs well without realizing who we're reaching and who we're not reaching and why. So that is becoming sort of the underlying driver of all of our programs. On the surface, our mission is to grow the local food economy by supporting producers, educating consumers, and connecting them together in the spirit of good, clean, and fair food for all. So we really try to get people eating locally and to realize the resources they have locally, and then to access those resources and meet those farmers and those ranchers, those growers through our programs. Our most visible faces are our markets. We run a weekly farmers market throughout the year. We call it the People's Market, but it's a farmers market where all the local produce and meat and dairy, packaged goods, some prepared foods, and even some artisans set up weekly in the middle of town. We have an online market that we started because of COVID, just to keep people safe and distanced and still give our producers, connect them with consumers even when we couldn't actually gather. And that's been really successful. It's been really popular, so that's a permanent program for us. We have an in-person market, an online market, and we also have a farm stand that we run in the summer where it's just good old-fashioned assortment of local and regional produce that people can come and choose for themselves. And so that's our public facing. And with all of those programs, our aim with food access is to make them more affordable. It's no secret that it's more expensive to buy a tomato that is grown on in a greenhouse in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, than it is to go to the grocery store and buy one that's coming from, a warmer climate or another country. The price is something we can't really, pretend isn't there. Our food is more expensive. We also think it's more nutrient dense. We think it's higher quality. We think when you invest in local food, the benefits and the impacts of your investment really come back to your community. They support your local producers, who are in turn, taking care of the land and the water and the environment that's around them. They're employing practices that are going to be healthy for themselves and their families, for the people who eat what they grow and produce, and for the climate that we all live in together. So we can explain the pricing that way, but that doesn't mean that it instantly makes it affordable or instantly convinces people or even enables people to make that choice. So with our markets, we offer what we call the Veggie Voucher program. It's had several names over the years, but it is now the Veggie Voucher program. And that looks like, I'll put a very straightforward visual on the screen. They're just little wooden chips. And so you come to the market and you have been, ideally our Veggie Voucher customers have worked with several of the other programs in our community that support food access and food insecurity, and also health-related, sort of chronic diet-related health conditions. And people come with these wooden coins, and they can spend those in person at our People's Market. They can spend those online. We have online codes to use if you're working through our online ordering. And then at our farm stand, you can also bring these wooden coins. and they work just like dollars. It works very much like a SNAP benefit, but we needed to simplify. You know, our farmers market is very simple and it's just outdoors. It's hard to, if we wanted to incorporate more of a, you know, complicated transactional system where we had sort of, you know, like little computers or little, you know, a complicated like exchange program, it's hard to get all of our producers to participate in that. It's hard to get the messages out to everyone. We end up with technical difficulties and people are, you know, hassled. It's aggravating. It can be frustrating. It can also be embarrassing if someone is using, you know, a discount code or they're paying with a special coin or, you know, they don't necessarily want to draw attention to themselves as a special kind of customer. So we didn't want to hit any technical glitches or make anyone feel uncomfortable about the way that they were paying for their food. So we came up with these simple coins that all of our vendors can very easily just accept as they would regular cash and then exchange that with us at the end of the market for dollars. So that's our way of sort of making it fluid and making that process simple and comfortable and just works for everyone without a lot of extra communication or extra equipment or extra software or anything like that. So that's our Veggie Voucher program. One key component of the Veggie Vouchers is that we really rely on community partners. We rely on our diabetes education department at our hospital. Some of we have a Teton literacy center that works with families in after school programs, and they help us distribute Veggie Vouchers and get the word out about this program so that families who don't interact with us directly can find out about us through other resources in the community. So it's sort of a wider net that we like to cast. We don't have the staff or the expertise or the sort of organic interactions with everyone in the community we want to reach. So we rely on community partners to help us get the word out and help us connect with those families that are in need. So that is our Veggie Voucher program. We have had some success also with partnering restaurants. So if you bring the Veggie Vouchers to our markets, they are exchanged for double the value. If you have a $1 chip, that's worth $2 at our slow food markets. There are a couple of restaurants, and we'd like for there to be more throughout town, where you can take these Veggie Vouchers and exchange them at face value. So $1 is $1, but you can have a variety of options. And some of those have more prepared food. You can go get a hamburger that's made with local meat, still using our Veggie Vouchers. Moving on, we have our community garden program. I almost wanted to stop and ask for questions, but I think we're doing those at the end, right, Christine? Okay, so our community gardens program is our other branch that is really targeted at food access and getting local food and growing opportunities in the hands of anyone who's interested. We have 124 garden plots in town. We'd like there to be 5-10 times that many. We have a high demand, and with COVID, it really exploded. So we're hoping to expand the garden project. But the idea is you pay a small fee. It's anywhere from $35 to $95 a year for the square footage you have. And we have 12, our smallest gardens are 12 square feet up to about a 10 by 12, so 120 square feet. And these are centrally located. They're on bus routes. So if someone doesn't have transportation, they can get there. They're also located in our neighborhood. So ideally, the people who garden live close by, and it's very easy for them to get back and forth. They run April through October. We have a lot of experienced gardeners in the program, so it's very easy and welcoming to come in as a new gardener who's never ever planted a seed before or never eaten kale or kohlrabi before. You have a lot of access to fellow gardeners who can teach you, show you, share with you. We offer workshops throughout the summer months with local farmers and gardening experts, soil health specialists, that come in and educate all of us so that we get better at gardening every year and have more resources to share. So that's another program where we are hoping to get people excited about not only eating local food, but growing it themselves and learning kind of what goes into feeding ourselves from the ground up. We do have a garden fee waiver. So if you're not able to pay for your garden plot, we have other gardeners who are willing to pay a little more for theirs on an annual basis. So we don't let that gardening fee be a barrier. We do donate extra produce. If you can't eat all of your harvest, we make sure that that goes to our local food donation programs. Whole Food Rescue is a large one in Jackson that we partner with a lot. One thing that we're challenged with, and maybe some of you from other communities have experienced this or can advise us, is, as I mentioned, we don't have a lot of gardening space. And through programs like Whole Food Rescue, we're learning that people don't just want food donated from the gardens, they really want the opportunity to grow it themselves and sort of earn that food and put in the work. And we just don't have enough garden space to offer that to as many people as we could involve in something like not grow a row, that's where it's food that's donated, but like grow your own. We just don't have enough space to do that. So that's something.
Jackson's one of the few places in the state where I think space is a huge.
Yeah.
It's like a downtown urban. Mary Ellen, I'm just gonna, because of time, if you could drop the links into the chat for everybody, that would be awesome.
Absolutely, I will put them in there. And thank you very much, Christine. I will just say, yeah, we'd love to continue the conversation. We're looking for more ideas and more resources, and we'd love to think collectively on this.
And the Wyoming Food Coalition is trying to pull together sort of a school community garden networking group, and you have some different challenges, but also for home gardening, right? Which, taking advantage of the small spaces people have at home might be a solution. Yeah. Thank you so much. Kelly, I've got your thing. Are you ready? Oh, if you can stop sharing. I don't think I can. There we go. Thank you. Actually, I think I had the power to. I think this is it. Do you guys see Kelly's slides? No? Yes? Okay. Yes. Great. And you're muted, Kelly.
Okay. All righty. Hi, my name's Kelly Pingree, and I'm the co-director of the Wind River Food Sovereignty Project. I'm also the Eastern Shoshone Outreach Consultant for the Food Bank of the Rockies. Next page. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Wind River Food Sovereignty Project first, and then I'll talk about the food bank. Wind River Food Sovereignty Project is a project of the Center for Popular Research, Education, and Policy. We call it short CPREP, and Blue Mountain Associates. It's a project to promote the production, distribution, and marketing of healthy, affordable, fresh food on the Wind River Reservation. Our mission of the Wind River Food Sovereignty Project is to increase the supply of local, healthy, affordable food on the Wind River Reservation in Wyoming by supporting reservation-based food production. Examples of such are local farmers market where local producers can sell their goods. Our vision is a vibrant food system on the Wind River Reservation designed by its community members. We hope to increase the number of local farmers, ranchers, and specialty food producers on the Wind River Reservation to create successful new market channels for local producers and to establish a food-based learning programs and career opportunities for Native youth on the Wind River Reservation by providing a systematic organizational structure and support for food production and distribution on the reservation. We hope to build on the accomplishments of Blue Mountain Associates and others to support food production on the Wind River Reservation. And some of our projects like Farmers Market, the Wind River Food Sovereignty Project runs the long-standing Wind River Farmers Market. The market is held each Thursday during the summer and winter market seasons, and we have a range of vendors who come to sell their homemade baked goods, fruits and vegetables, eggs, like chicken and duck, and homemade jams and jellies, as well as arts and crafts items, cultural food vendors who sell their traditional native foods. We also are into our producers cooperative in collaboration with Seed Commons and the Rocky Mountain Farmers Union. WRFSP is supporting the creation of workers-owned cooperatives on the Wind River Reservation. Our major interest of the WRFSP is to support the development of worker-owned cooperatives in order to support very small-scale producers on the reservation who want to expand their sales beyond the farmers market. We're investigating how to work with groups of producers to aggregate products and connect them to larger markets. We're excited about conversations we're having with the Wyoming Food Bank about coordinating with one of these cooperatives to grow enough produce that the food bank can purchase it as part of their local food purchasing program. Their food could go into one of the reservation food banks, but would also provide fair market prices to the producers. As the program expands, we hope to connect producers to the local supermarkets, casinos, restaurants, and reservation school districts. Okay, and so then also we're working into producer support. So one of our goals is to increase the number of local farmers, ranchers, and specialty food producers in the Wind River Reservation. WRFSP is working with Central Wyoming College to support Native students or students from the reservation, participating in their new farm incubator program for new and beginning farmers. Specifically, WRFSP is working with the CWC to address some of the barriers that students might face, for example, high costs of transportation, reliable access to computers and internet, materials and supplies, and tuition. WRFSP is also working with the Wind River Development Fund on a grant from the Native American Agricultural Fund. The Native American Agricultural Fund was started to address the history of discrimination against Native American producers in lending practices from the USDA. The Wind River Food Sovereignty Project and Wind River Development Fund are working with new and small-scale producers to provide ag education, mentorship, business planning resources, and startup costs. Wind River Food Sovereignty Project will also be to support up to 30 producers, 10 cattle ranchers, and 20 specialty food producers over the next few years with mini grants that we have and are already starting to incorporate that now. So that's what we're doing with the Wind River Food Sovereignty as of today for helping out our local food producers. So Food Bank of the Rockies wrote a grant back in August of 2020. They developed a culturally responsive food initiative. We call it CAFI. It was developed in response to feedback from partner agencies that identify gaps in services. They learned that food pantry users from different cultural backgrounds may experience additional barriers when accessing emergency food services, like different food preferences, language barriers, uncertainty about eligibility, not feeling comfortable when visiting food pantries that do not understand their culture. Like here on the reservation, we don't even have a food pantry. So it was like one of those things that that the Food Bank of the Rockies had asked the reservation if we would participate in the 8-county pilot program about reaching out to the different indigenous and culturally different backgrounds of different races. So that's where me and the Northern Arapaho consultant came into being is that they wanted people from the community that knew the community and knew the culture to be able to go out there and open up a dialogue with the tribes, both tribes, to develop a relationship between Food Bank of the Rockies and the tribes to get food banks, to get food pantries here on the reservation. This would be the first time we've ever had them here. And we did it. Eastern Shoshone tribe will have their, excuse me, will have their first food bank. It's Eastern Shoshone Tribal Health that will be the partner with Food Bank of the Rockies to bring in the food. I believe Northern Arapaho Tribe would be the Episcopal Mission in Itati that will be running their first food bank. However, the Northern Arapaho Council will be building 2 new food pantries, one in Lower Arapaho and one in Itati. That will be happening this year. I believe that the Eastern Shoshone Food Bank will be opening at probably the end of August of this year. It's very exciting, very exciting. Food Bank really went out of their way to address the needs of the people, to where we even got a culturally appropriate food list of what the people want to see coming in here, and not just something that they're bringing in here to give. They've been doing food distribution since November of 2020 and giving out the food to the people of both Northern and Eastern Shoshone, which I believe they did, I believe the Northern Arapaho, each distribution touched somewhere around 800 families. Eastern Shoshone, somewhere around 535 families participated in almost each and every food distribution that they've had once a month. And that will continue on until the food pantries are established. I believe they're supposed to go on till December of 2021, or until those food pantries are up and running. They also created a cultural food list also that they'll be bringing in, like bluebird flour, which is a very highly priced flour for the reservation because they make the best fry bread. So everybody likes the bluebird flour, which Food Bank is working to get that in here, as well as Indian corn, squash, salmon, buffalo, wild meats. They just had a whole list of all the different cultural foods that they'll be bringing in for the people, or finding farmers who will grow it to bring in to the food pantry. They did focus groups, surveys, just a lot of outreach to the community and the people to see and get their input on how they want this done. I think it's going to be very successful in how this food pantry is being developed. They are moving into their second phase now. Unfortunately, this grant has ended at tomorrow is the end of their grant for this food initiative, but I believe they'll be moving on to developing more the culturally responsive food initiative. Now they're going to bring it into 53 counties. Since this was a success in the 8 counties that they piloted, it was a very big success there. So now they're going to move that into 53 county service area. And they wanted to distribute over 1 million pounds of culturally responsive food. That is one of their goals, and reach over 5,000 families. So, and then to develop culturally specific outreach material, provide training and demonstrations for recipes on how to cook these things. And so they've got a lot going on that's going to be happening with the food bank. So I'm very excited about that, and being partners finally, after all this time, that we finally get those things here on the reservation that's so very much badly needed.
Say that again. Thank you so much. I also saw that the person who's listed as guest is actually Tony Woodell at the food bank. The Wyoming, I have it written down. the Food Bank of Wyoming, which is an exciting shift as we get towards here. So he's also here to answer questions. I think I'm going to spend like 1 minute to try to do a little bit of a summative thing. Just about our assets before we go to questions and discussion and answers. Obviously, some of our biggest assets are our land, and the Shoshone, Arapaho, and Cheyenne and other Native nations have been here for millennia, harvesting and hunting. More recently, land in the hands of our farmers and ranchers, gardeners and hunters and fishers have been nourishing people and the economy in Wyoming. We have more farmers markets per capita than any other state. So with programs like Slow Food at the Tetons is doing, or Edible Prairie Project people were doing when they ran a market, Wyoming Food for Thought, to increase access to these markets is huge. We have the CSA programs, food box programs, farm-based CSAs, Food Bank of Wyoming, Wyoming Hunger Initiative, statewide things like Sensible Nutrition and this coalition, the Wyoming Hunger Initiative, lots of community-based efforts, ones we've heard about today and more. So assets all in one place here, including, you know, as Jenny Gordon says, Wyoming is an all hands on deck kind of place for that kind of culture. I would just say some of which were mentioned today, right? Transportation between eaters and producers, climate issues, fruit and veg almost does not appear economically, and it could. We have the lowest SNAP participation rate in the country. Of those who are eligible for SNAP, only about 59% of people sign up. We don't participate in some farmers market nutrition programs, and we rank last in food investments to support regional food systems from a state policy level. And we're not so great on farm investments either, with our farmers aging, much less also, as many people have said, our farmers need a fair price, right? Some of our farmers and ranchers are struggling with food security. So I put them all on one slide, and I'll actually paste those into the chat, the assets and the opportunities / challenges of, that I wrote, but I'm going to stop sharing so that we can look at each other and open the floor for comments and questions for our amazing presenters who are doing amazing work. I'm so excited about the food bank stuff on the reservation, Kelly. I did not know all that. And I will say our most food insecure populations in Wyoming are people in Wind River Reservation, and actually our students. Our community college and university students are in addition to single moms, like everywhere in the country. So that's exciting about that partnership and the growing work you're talking about. Anybody have questions for our speakers or thoughts? You can just unmute and
yeah, I did notice, Christine, that Tony mentioned that he'd answer some questions. It might be good to get how the Wyoming, Food Bank of Wyoming got off on its own.
Leroy, thanks for that. We're not quite out on our own at the moment. We've changed our name to Food Bank of Wyoming because we're focused on Wyoming and Wyoming alone. We still are part of the Food Bank of the Rockies network at the present time. We're moving toward being an independent 501c3 for the state of Wyoming, but we're not quite there yet. We also are, we're also making sure that we're meeting the needs in Wyoming. So we're reaching out to all the groups in Wyoming that are interested in working with us, that we can have a part in creating food security for people throughout the state. So we're not quite there yet, Leroy, but we have changed our name, which is one of the first steps. It's kind of a 5-year process through Feeding America that we have to go through to do this. And we're in year number 2, to give you an idea. Okay, thank you.
With that in mind, then would you still be working with Food Bank of the Rockies as an affiliate then? Is that how that'll work?
We will, after that 5-year period, we will not. We will be an independent, direct relationship with Feeding America rather than being under the auspices of Food Bank of the Rockies.
Thanks, Tony. So Tony runs the Food Bank of Wyoming show. It's just going to take me a minute to start saying that. It's exciting. Other people have questions or solutions to share? Or priorities that you didn't hear yet today that you have thought of for improving access to all these great foods in Wyoming?
Megan, I have a question for you about the Edible Prairie Project. You mentioned the local food purchasing policy. Is that something you'd be willing to share, kind of the language and strategy you've used for that policy or plan to use?
Hi, yes. So it's not something we're actively working on. It's more of a big picture where we'd like to see some next steps. But many states have food purchasing policies. So basically what we've kind of seen is like, for example, a school district would say, we will attempt to purchase 10% of our food locally from local farmers and ranchers. You can even see at the state level, things like that. So that's kind of what we were thinking in line. Yeah.
Great.
And I can say we have a policy working group in the coalition, which has gotten us in front of the legislature, and we only just started really in 2020. So we're getting our feet under us though and starting to run. And so that's a policy that we could push for, do briefs on and talk to legislatures about. I mean, that's one of the things we're here for, is to take those, when you're growing food and running a market, you can't also testify to the legislature very easily, but that's something our coalition can help with. I wrote it down. And Ashley, you would know more about this, but one of there's a proposal anyway right now federally to increase how much people get to buy a school lunch and to allow increased local purchasing. So if that comes to pass, then it'll be even easier to.
Christine, you would be surprised right now how much local foods go into schools. It's actually pretty impressive. So it's great that they're trying to get even more funding.
And we need to have the suppliers for that. Like I've heard a few of you talking about farmer incubation, supporting new disadvantaged farmers, and happening in Gillette and happening in Wind River at the very least. And that's something also the coalition is interested in.
Christine, there was one in the chat box from Emily.
There's a couple actually, sorry. The berries and solutions to private homes offering the yards for community gardening plots. I know Feeding Laramie Valley does that, and I've seen programs like that elsewhere. Does anyone else here have experience on that they want to speak to? I don't know if anyone's tried that.
With our community garden project in Jackson, we tend to deal with homeowners associations, and it's very often that there's a contingency among homeowners that is interested in community gardens, but it just takes a small voice or two to stop the project or delay the project. So we have faced that hurdle before, and it's kind of frustrating. So I think if you can go around the homeowners association and deal with property owners who don't have to get permission from neighbors, that's a more direct route. At the same time, we try to run our programs well so that when a homeowners association does come to us and does want to see an example of how the program runs, we have, a well-organized program to show them, and our town council is behind our work, and we just provide a good model so that we try to help sway the naysayers.
Just one thought about that. I think if you do allow people on your property, you probably would want to look at liability insurance, and have that. Matter of fact, the Tri-State Food Coalition on our meeting Tuesday, I guess that was, working with agritourism, liability issue on your property. So if you do that, you want to make sure that you do check that out. Same with U-Picks and things like that. It's good to have a liability policy in place, just in case, just in case. Just a thought.
Christine, thinking outside of the community garden box just a little bit, but we offer a garden kit program, and we specifically choose plants that our families can grow in pots, because a lot of our families, they live in apartments, or they only have really small acreage that they can work with. They maybe can't get to the community garden. So we put together a kit that they can like just grow a plastic pot or even a grocery or reusable grocery bag, and they can grow a tomato in that. So that's kind of how we get away from that too. And it really makes it way more accessible.
Well, when I lived in Ithaca, people would sometimes set up with neighbors and and there was a group that helped facilitate those relationships, but then it was just like one person who wanted to have a garden but didn't have the yard, and somebody who didn't want to manage their yard was happy to have their neighbor garden there. That's another approach. Peggy, if that's you, Peggy McCracken, I know you have some experience with this.
Yeah, that is me. Let's see. Yeah, and can you hear me? Did I unmute myself?
You did.
Yeah. So I have a front yard that I use as a community garden, and it was really successful while I was actively engaged. It takes one person who's really committed to keep it going, and to keep everybody kind of doing their part and participating. But it was really successful, and we grew a lot of food, and it was a lot of fun, and we created community. So it's great, but it does take that one person, I think, to really spearhead it, to keep it going. Otherwise, it kind of people just kind of slip away from it.
To say we thought about that in the Wyoming Food Coalition as a whole, and we're lucky to have so many champions that we've gotten this far. But yeah, it often falls to a catalyst leader to make these things work. Other thoughts or questions? Chris, I don't know if you're raising a hand, like, unless I see hand up. Not. But anyone who had something to say could just unmute.
Christine, this is Adam. I have a question for Megan. Megan, I've been speaking with the food group here in Sheridan, who does a lot of work, regarding helping ensure that kids and families have access to good food. And one of the things that they'd asked me about that I was thinking you had spoken about before was basically education. Specifically, how do you help educate people on how to use produce? I think that's something you touched on earlier, but I was wondering if you could maybe speak a little bit more about some, unless I'm mixing you up with someone else. But I think you have talked about this before. What do those materials look like, and how do you get the word out?
Yes, and we volunteered with the food group, and we partnered with them to start our weekend food bag program. So yeah, we love Carrie and her team. So for our veggie basket program specifically, it's really easy because we meet with the clients one-on-one. And so it's really easy as we put produce in their bag to explain what this is, how we cook it. And so we don't have to develop a lot of materials that way, because it's just that face-to-face conversation, which is just really beneficial. We do include recipes with our veggie basket newsletter. So if it's a new produce item, we kind of introduce how to cook it, and we make sure it's a limited ingredient, easy to follow recipe, because we don't want anyone to be super overwhelmed. With our food bags, we kind of ran into that same issue, because you're not seeing the families face to face, because it's a very anonymous process. So what we did was we worked with Megan Skinner's community health nutrition class, and they developed a booklet for us, and it's all about making the weekend food bag your own. And it comes up with just our staples and simple tips and tricks to make those meals that we get healthier, I guess. So how do you turn boxed pastaroni into a healthier, more filling meal? So that's kind of what we're going to pilot this summer to see if that helps.
Great. Thank you. Sensible Nutrition does classes too, and I think there's growing partnerships in that area. Thanks so much. I don't know, Adam, if you wanted to, I put the how to join in the close and my own email if you want to get more involved in the food justice and food access or any part of this. I don't know if as our president, Adam, you want to tell people they should join if they haven't.
Well, yes, I will say, just as Christine said, if you have not yet officially joined the Wyoming Food Coalition, we would really love to have you join. In addition to the fairness and justice topic, we have some of our other working groups are Vibrant Farms, which is really focused more on the producer side of things, the Sustainable Ecosystems Group, the Strong Native Communities Group, Healthy People, Policy, Strategic Communications, and I think that's it. So it's a very broad perspective for the overall organization, but by having each of these working groups, what it really does is create space for people to engage on a particular topic that that you're most passionate about. So you don't have to feel like by joining, you need to help solve all of the challenges in Wyoming. It really is that we try and create a place for everyone to engage wherever you're most passionate about. So we'd love to have you join on this topic especially, but really any of those topics. Please go to our website, check out some of the other work we're doing on there. And thanks again for joining us tonight. Christine, any other closing words, or is that the wrap up for the evening?
Just thank you to Ashley and Megan and Kelly and Mary Ellen, because this was great, and to all of you for coming and for staying 2 minutes extra. Yes. Still time to go outside before the sun sets, because the days are getting longer.
Oh yes, my toddler is getting more and more resistant to bedtime because he keeps telling me it's still daytime.
That's right. I feel more awake.
Yes.
Thank you so much, including for great thoughts and the comments, and for being here and our speakers. I feel inspired, hopeful. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Awesome, Christine. Thank you so much. Oh, you're muted if you're talking.
I was, but I just realized when I hit leave meeting and asked me if I really wanted to, I couldn't find unmute. I think that I've done that more tonight than I have like in weeks. But thank you so much for setting everything up and the beautiful intro, outro slides. And
yeah, great. Yeah. This was all recorded, so it'll be uploaded to the website either tonight or tomorrow morning. But I'll send out a whole email. And great. Thanks, well, have a good night, and thank you again.
Bye.